Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are with Astrology Victoria. My name is Dulcie Cardinal, and this is my co-host.
Tatiana, Hassan here, very excited to have another video for you guys. So Dulcie, what are we covering today?
Yeah, so this time we're going to talk about the second week of December. We finished a video on the first week of December, which you can take a look at. And we'll do a quick review before we get into the second week. But yeah, that's going to be our focus.
So please feel free to check us out, like Astrology Victoria. All the links are below. And also click subscribe, share, all those nice things on YouTube so we can be found and this information more available for everybody out there. So yay, moving on now with the...
So we can be found, lost and now found. All right, let's get into our presentation here. So just a quick review from the previous week. So week 1 of December, we had an eclipse.
Yeah, that's the highlight, I think, of the week is the eclipse we had on the 3rd and 4th, which, you know, points out towards these new adventures, basically, and releasing or reviewing what we truly value in a certain sense with the other eclipse that we had, the lunar eclipse in Taurus, a little bit at the end of November. And then with this eclipse, what are the new beliefs that you're adopting that move your life forward, and how can you speak your truth and walk your talk a little bit? This is what this eclipse is pushing us into, a new adventure to allow ourselves to believe new things. And it's funny because I was just discussing with Dulcie what I've been going through. So with this eclipse energy already playing out, like many years ago, maybe I was so sure of what I believed, and I would say this is this and this is the truth, and I live this like that, and without necessarily needing to check why I was saying that. And I was just telling Dulcie, like, I just feel now that anything can be true. Anything. It's more like what I'm believing now is anything you believe, you can act out and you see how it plays out. You have that experience and then you can just change it and believe something else, see how that changes your reality and move on. Like almost like creating realities out of shifting beliefs instead of like set beliefs. So it's kind of interesting for me to think like, oh yeah, maybe it's a different kind of spiritual way of seeing things. So
yeah, definitely over the last few years, and this is the last eclipse, I believe, in this axis between Gemini and Sagittarius. So this has been happening for the past 2 years ish, and I feel the same way. I've definitely come to a point where my opinions on things have changed or even become a non-opinion, where I thought I would think a certain way, and now I'm not quite sure what I believe, and I don't quite have an opinion on the matter yet. And just, yeah, my overall philosophy to life and my beliefs are morphing. And I'm curious how this has played out for other people. I imagine it's not exactly the same for everyone. Perhaps their beliefs have become even more solidified. Their beliefs, they have become more clear in their beliefs and what they thought prior to the eclipses on this axis. But either way, it's our overarching beliefs that have been kind of highlighted over the past couple of years and in the spotlight.
yeah, and please feel free to leave a comment if you have felt that you believe different things now and you see reality and life in a different way. And also, if you know what house this eclipse is falling in your chart, where Sagittarius is, your Sagittarius house, this is where is the area of life that it's impacted. Like in my case, it's the first house. I'm a Sagittarius rising. So clearly it's like even my sense of identity is all in question. My life's direction and I'm being more pushed. How I feel is I'm really now being more pushed into doing something that's really meaningful, because Sagittarius is also this quest for meaning, for purpose. And I feel like, oh yeah, now I want to do things that are really meaningful to me. Not that I have not been doing them, but it's like now they're like really strong, and also making meaningful money. And that we will see when we go to see Venus and Pluto, and what's going on with our value systems is also meaningful money. What's valuable, and if you're not aligned with that, it's like a big push. It's a big evolutionary push. So yeah, give us a.
And just because this eclipse happens very late at night on the 3rd for us, and early in the morning on the 4th for people on the East Coast of North America, it doesn't mean that it's just the effects of that will be just that day. It carries over for several months.
Several months. Yeah, exactly. And we will see the fruition of this eclipse in the next 6 months. So this is like just the portal. I always see eclipses as this portal of like push, evolutionary push. So yeah, that's kind of where we're coming from with this, like this energy of speaking your truth, gaining your sense of authority. And then into December 7th, so our second week, week 2 of December, we will have so the first thing that we notice is this square of Mercury to Neptune. So
this is just to review the end of last week as well.
That square of Neptune Mercury and the square of Mars Jupiter is, things may seem you might seem super overly optimistic, and you can just do basically anything, that you have the strength to do anything, but maybe not. Maybe you're just overshooting a mark. And with the square of Neptune to Mercury, which will also have its effect on the second week as well, beware of like really fact check everything, because we can be easily duped with this. The mind can be a little bit confused, or you can have a certain access to certain spiritual meanings, but this is the perfect thing where you're like, somebody says anything and you're like, oh, and they sell you on a Ponzi scheme and you just fall for it. Is that kind of energy. So because I feel it like the naive energy, where you just basically believe anything. So either you can be duped, or beware, maybe you might be prone to not necessarily being very clear with your intentions. So it's very important to be very clear and straightforward with your intentions, your word. This is a good time to verify whether or not we're super aligned with our words and our thoughts and our actions, because if it's not aligned, that's where we could be thinking something but doing something else, or misleading people, or conversely being misled. So like little thing to be aware of. What do you think about this, Dulcie?
Yeah, I see two very different types of energies. Between the Mercury square Neptune, it's very mental. It's about our thinking process, and perhaps we might have a little bit of foggy thinking or not being clear about something. And like Tatiana said, the ability to be misled or to mislead others. Compared with the Mars square Jupiter energy, or the Mars sextile Pluto, we're feeling that physical power, that ability to just charge forward. So even though our body is ready to go, our mind may not be sure about what direction to head in, or it might be in the wrong direction. It might have been misled. So just paying attention to those two different energies.
Yeah, you might even be questioning whether or not what you had set forth to do, like you were super clear on something, suddenly you feel like confused about something you were super clear about. This might be a time where you might feel confused, like, is this the right thing? Or again, overshooting a mark. Maybe you have too much optimism about something, and you think you have all this energy to put into something, and then maybe is that the right thing? So this is could be a little bit of a confusing time. So if you feel a little bit lost, well, this is not the time to like completely go ahead and go forward with something if you're not sure. This is why fact checking and making sure that that this aligns with yourself, that your intuition is also keen, right? It's very like sharp. Otherwise, yeah, you could engage in things that you actually don't want. You could be misled. So that's our December 7th like main energy. And then we move on to the full on second week, which carries on these. So it's not like it's not like, and on this day everything changes. No, we're carrying on the whole themes of what the eclipse is bringing, the shifts in beliefs, trying to find a direction, a meaning. And then we have one of again, this is very important because we're going to have the Sun squaring Neptune.
Yeah.
And with the Sun square Neptune, it's a little bit like having that Mercury square Neptune energy as well. And the Sun, there could be a lot of spiritual insight. And at the same time, there could be some kind of disillusionment or dissolution of the ego as well. Like whenever we have Neptune kind of dissolving things, there could be a call to dissolve the ego or a sense of self-righteousness, or like it's almost like a call from the divine saying like, well, you may think you know everything, but you don't. That could be one way of seeing it. I wanted to share a little bit from Ren Butler's book, The Archetypal Universe, about Sun Neptune when it's in a kind of a complicated aspect. So Sun Neptune could be a tendencies towards self-deception and escapism, dissolved feelings of selfhood and certainty, lack of purpose or direction, a potential for psychic inflation. So yeah, I think this ties in with that Mercury square, with, you know, there's something about being completely dissolved, or being a little bit aimless, that's asking us to maybe get clearer. What do you think, Dulcie?
Definitely. Yeah. With this, whenever Neptune is involved, there's always the opportunity to go within and explore the sort of spiritual realm, or the realm of consciousness. So it doesn't always need to be this lack of personal boundaries and not knowing where I'm going or what I'm doing. It could be taking a moment to go within and recognizing that perhaps in this moment, I don't know where I'm going or what I should be doing next, but I'll take that pause and perhaps gain that insight in that moment. But it can be about feeling unmotivated or unclear about one's goals, or feeling discouraged about not reaching those goals in time, feeling a little bit discouraged, and having some difficulty facing challenges head on. And this is where avoidant behavior can come into play. So
I would really not because this could have a tendency to escapism, right? Like avoidance, like you say, just a perfect word, like trying to avoid things or situations, like oh, I just don't want to look at this. I would actually say do the opposite, because we're going to have a real supportive aspect of Venus Pluto as well. It's like head on, look at it. And great times for, like Dulcie say, going inwards and doing deep meditation practices where you can actually come into contact with your higher self, or whatever that is, or your higher guidance that really puts you back into you and not outside of you. Otherwise, this could be very confusing times, because the outside world might not reflect at all anything of what you wish or desire, or those Sagittarian ideals. And then you're you might be in conflict with what's going on outside with what's going on inside, and then a lack of what's almost it's that kind of that millennial energy of what's the point. That millennial energy of that's a little bit like that. It's what for, why live? So it's a good time to precisely do the opposite. Go well, what are the valuable things that we have in this life, and why did I came here for? What did I come here for? That's the kind of that invitation that this kind of uncomfortable energy brings. This is at least what I think from this.
Yeah, the benefits of that uncomfortable energy. It's not a smooth kind of easygoing day where everything is wonderful. It's a little bit uncomfortable, and it pushes you to do the inner work.
Exactly. So the recommendation is do the inner work, and I would say avoid escapism or methods to escape, like, you know, any kind of drugs, alcohol, or anything like that. It's not very, let's say, positive doing these trances, because it could lead you even more astray, you know. If you're like smoking some weed just to evade things, you might be even more lost. So if you're already a little bit lost, getting even more lost is not going to solve your life's issues.
So it's okay to avoid avoidance behavior.
Exactly. And be more like centered, even actually even more grounded, because when we have Neptune in the mix, it's always good to have some grounded energy as well. The only way to ground spiritual energies in the planet is when you're grounded. And I'm going to talk a little bit woo woo. When you have like your root or your root chakra and the energy from, you know, the lower part of your being anchored through the ground, and you're like a tree. It's like a tree with deep roots can really take on the energy of the sun and grow big branches. So it's kind of like that. This is a time when you're having this, when you're kind of off and being completely ungrounded and disconnected, doing things that disconnect you even more. It's just gonna, it's like a kite that has completely lost its tether. So the thing here is the opposite: grounded well so you can fly high. You see, this has a little bit of that idea. So use grounding practices like walking bare feet on the ground, taking Epsom salts baths, doing conscious breathing, visualizing red color emanating from your feet into the ground, or if you're sitting, from your sits bone, all these little practices. And if you don't know any of any practices, there's like a ton of videos out there on YouTube, and grounding practices that you can find. You can even find me on my other channel, Tatiana's Spiritual Toolbox, where I give a lot of spiritual tools if that's something you're interested in. So yeah, moving on. We have that Venus conjunct Pluto exact on December 11th. However, this energy has been creeping in already from before. It's not like on that day, but it gets its most potent energy on December 11th. So Dulcie, what would you like to say about Venus Pluto before I have something?
Yeah, for sure. If also, you can take a look at where this is happening in your chart, and that will give you a clue as to the life topics that this will be affecting. But Venus is about love and relationships and attraction, and beauty. And she's now intermingling with Pluto, the lord of the underworld. So that changes the Venusian effects or the Venusian energy. And it's not necessarily the obvious beauty that we would see in the world. Here in Victoria, it's a very gloomy, rainy day. And I can recognize the beauty in that. I can see the wet plants and the flowers on the trees, or the not flowers, the berries on the trees. And there's still some color on the trees despite it being winter. The dead plants, even, there's a beauty in that, because it's the changing of the seasons. It's we need to go through that death in order to make it back to the next summer energy. So it's a different kind of beauty. It's an appreciation for things that we might not necessarily think are obviously beauty or beautiful. But because she's with Pluto as well, Pluto is also a signification of intense change, intense growth and change. So I don't know what this is going to look like in my life, but I'm incredibly curious. It's in my 10th house of career and, you know, my life path. And so this changes my values for something. What I thought my values were originally are going to go through a drastic change, especially since Venus will be turning retrograde in this sign as well. So she'll pass Pluto once and then pass him again and then for a third time. So she'll be spending a lot of time with Pluto. And this will be adjusting our values and our sense of relationships and beauty, and yeah, causing quite a stir there.
Yeah, so whatever placement it's in your chart, again, look at what area of life this is happening, because it's not going to be your, you know, oh, your 1 week transit of Venus Pluto. This is like, oh my gosh, back and forth reviewing. This is also beauty meets power. Like, I don't know who was it that said it was like the beauty and the beast, literally. It's like beauty meets intensity meets power, control again, manipulation, powerful people, you know, because Venus is about relationships. Maybe you come in contact with powerful people, and it's in Capricorn. So it's not just the Venus in Libra or in Taurus in its home signs. No, it's this Venus in Capricorn. It's more like, Dulcie said, it's more like the dead branches. It's cold, but it's colder, and at the same time it's more serious, and it wants what it wants, and it wants to get where it wants to get. So with Pluto, there is like almost reviewing, are the things you want to get actually the things you want to get, or these things are outmoded, or these people? And it could go both ways. It could go either you need to completely destroy what you have deemed valuable or like as achievements, or the people you were attaching to, or the goals, or like the rat race mentality, or any of that kind of thing that would put you at the top. Maybe that's going to come crumbling down. That could be one scenario. The other scenario is that you're being asked to, like, kind of the opposite, to go for what you really want. It depends how you have, you know, acted these energies. Beware of maybe dangerous liaisons, right? Or attachments that could be not dangerous, but you know, beware of manipulation. Again, manipulation, control, using beauty and grace to manipulate and get what you want or get to the top. That can be that energy as well. Mm-hmm. Most positive side and expression is the transformation of what you deeply value, Venus, what you deeply love. And it's like the myth of Inanna that goes into the, you know, it's taken into the underworld, you know, and then to resurface completely different. So is that meeting of yeah, it's not the light and fluffy Venus. It can bring up issues with relationships, and because it's retrograde, maybe old relationships might come back, or old patterns in relationship that we're attached to, how we live relationships that are maybe not supporting, or that they might be toxic, that we are going to be looking at. That's why whenever we have Venus, Pluto, there's a component also of passion and like intensity. And it's this like, I see it a little bit, you know, it's a little bit BDSM-y, you know, it's that kind of energy. There's beauty in that too. There's kind of like certain sense of sexuality as well. With that, and deep attractions to power, even to money, you know, or to success. And, you know, so how are you dealing with these topics of success, power, money? How are you dealing with it? Are you dealing with these things in the best way possible, or are you still attached? You know, Pluto wants to transform the attachments that we have to things. Or are you still attached to certain things that are just not supported by the new you that is wanting to be birthed for like a while already? So this Venus retrograde with Pluto is going to bring all of those things, whether they are internal or external, that force you to look inside. It could go either way. So that's a little bit, my thought. But we do have this, the sextile, there is a sextile of Neptune to Mars as well. June, let's see. No, it's not a sextile. Sorry, that was, it's a trine. It's a loose trine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mars to Neptune.
Yeah, and then there's a sextile of Neptune to Venus Pluto and the sextile of Mars to Venus Pluto. So you see there's like these two sextiles energies that are impacting. So it's like a little combo. Those energies are kind of working in tandem. It's not just that on its own. So, and Mars brings in again a warrior quality, profound need to go deep, intense cathartic forces of transformation of those values. And if we use the Mars energy correctly, there is like it's when you go into maybe a cathartic therapy and you're really brave to do it and you just go for it, and so you can bring all that out. And then Neptune brings this kind of a little bit more softer, if not softer, it helps guide the process from a higher place. That's how I feel. So maybe using some art or music in a cathartic process. And also with Mars, we also talk a little bit about either moving the emotions, it's still in Scorpio, moving emotionally inside, but also moving the body, the physical body is also indicated. So how can we maybe achieve some certain catharsis processes through the body or through art or through movement? I think I always think about these kinds of energies as a lot of like, I can only describe it like that, acting it out, but you get the gist. And so whatever you're moving through that you're needing to release and shift and change, there can be this support if you actually go head on with observing these dynamics. If you're completely, let's say, unaware or more like not conscious, what can happen is situations will present themselves as very difficult or toxic, or power driven, power struggles that could happen, and then you're forced to, so it can go either way. So what do you think, Dulcie, about this?
Yeah, I have a bit of a fun example of these energies kind of playing out. So I've been watching The Bachelorette recently, and there are a few contestants on there. So it's a bunch of men trying to date the same woman, essentially, and only one of them gets to be the one to propose to her at the end. And so a few of the men are, known to be bad apples, and they'll use manipulation, and they'll kind of lie and be a little bit slimy. Sometimes even gaslighting the woman. So what has been happening is these kinds of red flags have been popping up. And if she notices them herself, she addresses them and says, like, this is the issue, this is a red flag for me, and you gotta go. And some of them are there to boost their own careers and to be on TV and to become famous, and other times the other men will kind of be like, hey, so this guy, you got to look out for him, he's not good, he's manipulating you, he's lying to you. And once she's aware of this, then she confronts him and lets him go. So just a little bit of the Venus-Pluto kind of relationship with the manipulation and the gaslighting and the desire for power, even in Capricorn, trying to further their own careers and make it further in the competition. But she's able to address it head on rather than be duped by them or you know, be oblivious to these red flags. She's confident in herself enough to verbalize what is not okay about the situation and to end it. So
Wow. That truly is like the perfect example of a very Venus Pluto, energy.
yeah.
There's degrees, right? There's the lower echelons of the energy, and then there's a higher echelons, which is true transformation of value and using power in a responsible way. Because Capricorn has the sense of also, in Capricorn, it's there's some kind of integrity to Capricorn. It's a Saturn ruled sign, and also some kind of seriousness and a long-lasting effect. Capricorn is builds for long. So whatever we're destroying that we're renewing is going to stay for the long haul. So this is why it's good to use this energy wisely into really looking at your relationships, your values, your desires for money, power, control, all of that, how you're using that. How I always come back to how, because in astrology it's not about what's going to happen. It's more like how you deal with the weather, the astrology weather, and what are the best choices you can make. That's just all about it. So yeah, that's a little bit yeah, it was Rand Butler who talked about the Beauty and the Beast. I have my book again here. Favorite cookbook. Anyway. So yeah.
The one transit on here we haven't discussed is just the Mercury Jupiter sextile. I see this more as kind of optimistic thinking and kind of a hopeful, positive attitude amongst all of this Venus Pluto energy. What do you think?
Yeah, and an ability also to, because again, we were dealing with Sagittarius in energies, and the ability to speak one's truth, the ability to assert oneself in like you say, there's like hope, there's a better vision of yourself. It's almost like if we're transforming and leaving certain things behind that are very heavy and maybe toxic, there's also always an opening, and Jupiter always brings these openings of hope. It always opens the window. I always see Jupiter as like, and the window opened, and it's this kind of open window or this opportunity to be able to speak one's truth. Even though the sun's no longer conjunct to Mercury to shine one's identity and ideas, there's still a little bit of that effect going on. There's all these things are going on at the same time. So it's not like one thing is separate from the next, and you might live it completely different depending on your chart. Yeah, so that's basically it for like December 11th. And again, this carries throughout the whole week. And then we have, by the end of the week, we have some kind of starting to shift the energy as Mercury enters into Capricorn. So a very different energy. And Mercury enters Capricorn.
Mercury enters Capricorn. Yeah, and then we had also Mars entering Sagittarius on the same day. So we'll
have discussed the Sagittarius energy quite extensively, and if you have not watched our videos like from the first weeks, I would recommend you watch them, or even watch our video on Sagittarius. It's also on our channel because we have a very thorough description of the energy, so you can place it. The Capricorn energy has a different vibe, and as things move into Capricorn, that we're going to see will start slowly shifting into Capricorn season with a lot of Capricorn energy by the end of December. This first ingress of Mercury, and then eventually we'll have the sun joining, and things we're going to go get more Capricornian. So we see the Capricorn energy a little bit more of I always feel it as a little bit colder. It's like that winter season that Dulcie was talking about, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, right? And yeah, I always feel and sense the Capricorn energy like is the slow and steady kind of see the top of a mountain, go get it, by constant effort over time. It builds things. Things take time to build. So whenever we're in any Capricorn energy, there's this kind of more serious approach to things. It's like, okay, let's get down to business. Now it's no longer time to woohoo, wow, you know. It's time to gather and focus. I always feel this energy, very focused energy. Capricorn like sees and focuses, whereas it's Jupiter, Sagittarius, and the Jupiter is always all these possibilities and all these big dreams, see beyond, everything's possible. Capricorn kind of goes, okay, from all these wonders, like what are we going to focus on, and go for that one path. So I feel that by the time we enter the second week of the third week of December, we're going to start seeing a little bit more of the path open, and kind of things get a little bit more realistic. And this is also within a square that is starting to perfect very soon, is the Uranus Saturn square that we have been talking about extensively, that is going to be very active in this last part of December. So you see, it's a lot of things at the same time, and this last part of like the tension between freedom and structure and oppression and government. So we're going to see a lot of shifts, I think, with this energy. So what do you think about the Mercury entering Capricorn in particular?
Yeah, it's a more practical energy. Our thinking might be a bit more clear and concise, but also at the same time cold and unemotional. Not saying that we won't be experiencing emotions, but it'll be just it does have a colder feel. And yeah, it's about building something. It's not about lovey-dovey relationships. It's what is it that I want to build, and now I'm ready to put that energy towards it.
That's basically,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's kind of basically the gist of the whole week. So to summarize, we have this new incoming energies of of new ideals, maybe meaning coming in at the same time, maybe a little bit of confusion, not really knowing. At the same time, relationships maybe bringing a lot of shift and change. Our values are shifting as well, and the search for meaning, and then eventually maybe a more clear path coming into view as December progresses. So yeah, there's a lot of this is like a lot of December's energy, but if we want to take it week by week, well, we will see the intensity of Pluto Venus is going to be probably in the forefront of this week, that intense, passionate,
Yeah, and amongst all of this kind of cold discipline, we'll also be having Mars entering Sagittarius. So that might give us a little bit of an uplifting motivation.
And also physical energy. I feel with Mars and Sagittarius is in a fire sign. It's like there's a little bit more of a let's go explore. So it almost opens the possibility to have that desire to go and get what you want. Like if you've really cleared yourself up and went inside and really said, okay, I know now what I'm about and what I want to create in these new adventures. Mars and Sagittarius kind of has that adventure quality, like, okay, let's go. Do we need to move? Okay, we're going to move. Do we need to change jobs? Okay, fine, just change jobs. Do we need to break up with a partner? Cool. Or do we need to, I don't know, go online and date somebody that we're, it's this kind of, let's just see what happens kind of energy. So with this,
just go ahead, go for it
and trust that something coming. And that's a very Sagittarian thing to do, is like everything's gonna be fine even if it's not.
And a Mars thing to do, just go ahead and do it.
So we're gonna be supported with that. So this is our second week.
So Mars is going to charge forward, but also Mercury at the same time will be able to kind of analyze and distinguish what is a good idea and what's not, maybe.
Exactly. All right. So everyone, thank you so much for watching our video, and if you liked it, please feel free to like and then share it with other people. Subscribe to our channel and see all our offerings with Astrology Victoria. So all links are below, and we'll see you very, very soon with the third week. So don't miss that either. So you're always filling in, and your comments are always welcome because we want to see how you're living through these energies. So thank you very much. And
yeah, thanks so much.
yeah.
All right, see you next time. Bye, guys.